now we are going to talk about the shutter speed. The shutter speed is the time it takes the shutter to open and close. So to take an image, first of all, we set on the camera the speed of the shutter, and then we press the button of the camera to take the shot. Now, in this example, we are going to take a shot just to hear the sound of the shutter. So you hear there are two sounds, opening and closing. So once again, I can set the shutter to be slower. So now there's bigger delay between the two sounds. I can even make it slower. So it's taking too much time this time. And I can make it fast. So it's very fast, as if you cannot hear a difference between the two sounds. And I can make it even faster. So this is the sound of the shutter speed, and now we understood that the shutter speed is the time needed for the shutter to open and close. Let's see these ideas in more details. Let us learn how to select the right shutter speed for our shot and how to set the right exposure. For this demonstration, I'm using the Canon EOS 100D. For sure, there will be some differences between different cameras, but it will give you a clear idea. So, at the top here, you can see my shutter speed. Currently, it is 1/30 of a second. This means that it is faster than 1 second. It is 1/30 of a second, 30th of a second. When I change the dial on the camera, I will change this number. So it's 1/40, 1/50. For sure, when the denominator is bigger, then the shutter is faster. So 1/50 is faster than 1/30. 1/100 is faster than 1/50, and so on. So how can you select the appropriate shutter to get a good exposure of your image? You can use the help of the meter below. In this meter, you can see some numbers. The number in the middle is a good exposure, the correct exposure. If your dial is to the right, then the image will be overexposed. It will be bright. And if the dial is on the left, it will be underexposed. It will be dark. To see that, you click half a button on your shutter release. So when you click this half button, you see another small dot that appears on the screen. Now this dot is towards the left. So this means that the image will be underexposed. If I change the dial, now I'm reaching the midpoint. So here I am at 1/6 shutter speed, and the meter shows that the picture will be in correct exposure. Let's take a shot. So here it is. Well, let's overexpose the image. So I'm going now. You can notice that the numbers are no more fractions. This is half a second. It is overexposed. It's brighter. So let's go. This is 1 complete second, which means that the time for the shutter to open and close will be 1 second. So notice that the reading here is a lot to the right. What happens if I go even more? So let's go to 2 seconds. And let's take a shot on 4-second shutter. So it will take 4 seconds for this shutter to open and close. So it's very overexposed. Now let's go back. Now we are in the middle, so it is correctly exposed. Let's go a little bit under exposure, so something around 1/15 of a second. Let's go now 1/30. You see now it's getting darker and darker. So let's go to 1/100. A lot darker. And let's go to 1/400. You see, it's very dark now. So, to correct expose your image, you should have the reading on your meter in the middle, where you will get a correct exposed image. Let's talk about general ideas of the shutter speed. First of all, if you are shooting in a dark environment, you need to have a slow shutter speed. Why? Because the environment is dark, which means when the shutter opens, since the environment is dark, there will not be a lot of light entering into the sensor. And in this case, you need to open the shutter for a long time to allow enough time to hit the sensor to get the final result, a bright image. So if you are shooting in a dark environment and you don't have a slow shutter speed, your image might end up underexposed. Therefore, dark environments, slow shutter speed. The second idea, which is opposite to the first one, when you are shooting in a bright environment like under the sunlight in nature. In that case, you should use a fast shutter speed, because since the light in the environment is very strong, if you keep your shutter open for a long time, much light will enter to the sensor and the image will become overexposed. So you do not need too much light in the outdoors. You need a fast shutter speed to allow only small amount of light to enter to have correct exposure of your image. The next idea is a contradiction for the two before. What I mean is, it depends on what you are going to do, what you are going to shoot. Sometimes, on purpose, you would like to have an overexposed image. And in that case, you will overexpose it and you will not care to the meter reading. We use this technique many times in portraits. Many times we would like to overexpose a little bit just to have nice skin tones and nice effects in the portrait. And some other times you'd like to underexpose your image. Sometimes when shooting nature, you would like to underexpose it to give some dramatic effects. So it depends on the thing that you are going to shoot, your theme, your idea. So there's no standard formula. It's not always you have to follow the meter. It depends on what you are going to shoot. The next idea, if you are shooting in a studio where you have multiple light sources, you cannot rely to the meter on the camera, because when there are multiple lights, light will have different effects and you need to use another device, which is a light meter, something beyond the scope of this tutorial. But just remember this. When you are shooting in one light source, like an ambient light in nature, in the outdoors, you can rely on the meter of your camera. But if you are shooting inside a studio with multiple light sources, you cannot rely 100% on your meter. You have to use advanced techniques. The next point is handshake. As you know, by nature, the human hand moves. It's not stable as a table. For example, if you get a laser light that you use in presentations and if you hit it on the wall, you will notice that the light is moving all the time, which means your hands are moving, they're not stable. This has great effect on photography when you are holding your camera in slow shutter speeds. If the shutter is very slow, due to the handshake, the hand movement, the final image will be blurred and you don't want that. So, what is the shutter speed that you should start thinking about holding the camera or not? It is 1/60. If you are slower than 1/60, it's danger zone. Probably the images will be blurry, and it's better in that case to use a tripod and put your camera on the tripod and not hand hold it. Some people have more stable hands, and some photographers are more experienced. They can hold their breath and they know how to stand. They might be able to reach to 1/30 handheld, but for sure not less than that. If you are less than 1/30, it's impossible. The images will be blurry. So to be on the safe side, you should not be slower than 1/60. Anything less than 1/60, you should use a tripod to have clear shots, good images. The last point that I would like to talk about is that you can use different shutter speed to produce nice effects photography. Sometimes in the day, sometimes in the night, slow shutter, fast shutter, and you will get very nice and artistic shots. So let us illustrate these ideas by looking to these videos.